make America better and greater by voting for Donald Trump and J.D. Vance. Now go do it!
This is the most important election we've ever had because we got to change this administration. I can't think of anything where we haven't gotten weaker. Our economy has gotten weaker. The price of food is 60-70% higher than when Trump was in office. The invasion of the United States, we've had somewhere around 15 million people. Most of them, we don't know who they are. All of this is on purpose. They're trying to make us into a one-world country. They want to destroy America as we know it.
What does Trump have to do? Is it all about Pennsylvania and I think those 19 electoral votes?
There are two states I would say that are critical. I would add one to Pennsylvania. That would be Michigan. There were two ways he could get there. If, God forbid, he were to lose Pennsylvania, if he won Michigan and held on to the states that he's ahead in, he'd barely make it. He takes both of them, he wins solidly. Right now, Trump has the biggest lead he's ever had, but it isn't sure, without any doubt. And our elections are notoriously unpredictable. Harris could still win. It would be a disaster for America. She'd be a weaker president than Biden, if that's possible.
Rudy, I wanted to ask about you. In addition to New York, they've now disbarred you in Washington, D.C. Months ago, they tried to hit you with $150 million in damages. And one of the things I found most interesting about our conversation here in London is just how resilient you are.
Both of those proceedings were not brought against me by a judge or a lawyer in the case. They were brought by political activists. But I'm not going to let it stop me. I'm going to let it motivate me to fight even harder because hopefully I can play a role in straightening out my country and passing it on to my children better than it was passed on to me, because right now I'd be passing on a country much weaker than it was given to me. And that isn't right.
How do you get out of a rat race? How do you create wealth not only for yourself, but also for the generations to come after?
I am absolutely amazed with the quality of companies that we're getting exposure to.
We go on to Zoom calls with the innovators and the folks who are building new applications in metaverse, blockchain, artificial intelligence, decentralized finance.
What's going on, everybody? Thumbs up if you can see me.
We are focusing on early stage investment.
And the quality of people that we're getting exposure to, whether it be Dan Tapiero with 1RT, Jason Ma from Open, Yatsu from Animoca.
It's been a phenomenal experience thus far. It has far exceeded my expectations.
We are focusing on cutting edge technologies.
I view it now as the best investment I've ever made. The upside I view is unlimited.
And as a retail investor, I would never get this exposure anywhere else outside of Investment Club.
See you in the Investment Club.
The world is changing. Inspiration is everywhere. It has never been so easy to connect, share, and bring people together. We're learning from others and finding the best in ourselves. Challenging our beliefs. Sharing our vulnerability. Overcoming our fears. Transforming ourselves so we can transform the world. How far can we go? This is London Real. I am Brian Rose. My guest today is... This is London Real. I am Brian Rose. My guest today is Rudy Giuliani, the author, lawyer, and former mayor of New York City. You are considered one of the most effective chief executives in modern American history for your leadership during 9/11 and were named Time Magazine's Person of the Year. You were also given an honorary knighthood by the Queen of England and were awarded the Ronald Reagan Presidential Freedom Award. During your time in office, you took on organized crime and the notorious five families of the mafia, amassing over 4,000 convictions. You also prosecuted big Wall Street figures such as Ivan Boesky and Michael Milken. Your soon-to-be-released book, The Biden Crime Family, The Blueprint for Their Prosecution, looks at the deep-rooted corruption surrounding the current president. You ultimately believe that November's election is the most important ever, and unless Trump wins, America will not likely survive. Rudy, welcome back to London Real.
Oh, it's a great pleasure. It's nice to be back with you. I enjoyed our last interview very much.
Yeah, me too. Really great to have you here, and thanks for coming on. Rudy, we're less than 30 days out. There's a lot going on. Obviously, this is such an important election. I couldn't agree with you more. I've got people over here in Europe telling me that what America does is going to have consequences all over the world.
Yeah,
and they're very worried that if it doesn't go the right way, that Europe's going to pay for it. What's that famous phrase? When America sneezes, Europe gets a cold. And it feels like the same thing, except this time it's everything. Tell me, where is the State of the Union right now, in your opinion? How are we doing? And what are the major obstacles you foresee in the next 4 weeks?
The major obstacles are getting the people out to vote. If you look at our country, take an objective look at the polls, right? Right now, I would say an objective look at the polls, and I look at them for my show every week. I do a wrap-up every Friday on the electoral vote. So people should know in Europe that we do not elect by popular vote. Each state selects electors. It's apportioned to the size of the state's delegation in Congress. And then those electors are bound to vote for the person the state chose. Right now, Trump has what I would call, the biggest lead he's ever had at this stage. He's always been behind, even when he won. But it isn't sure, without any doubt. And our elections are notoriously unpredictable. So right now, I would say, if you had the election, Trump would win. We're not having it right now. We're having it almost a month from now. I would say the chances are, I'd rather be Trump than Harris. But Harris could still win. It would be a disaster for America. She'd be a weaker president than Biden, if that's possible. Because Biden was corrupt thoroughly and demented. I mean, from the very beginning, he didn't know largely a lot about anything. Even before he ran, I had a podcast 2 months before the election with two doctors who said, one said he was in the early stages of dementia. The other said he wouldn't make it through the presidency. He turned out to be right. I mean, he really didn't make it through the presidency. When they took him out as the Democratic candidate, really under our 25th Amendment, they should have taken him out as president because he doesn't know what he's doing. That has weakened us tremendously. From Afghanistan on, from his pullout from Afghanistan, a lot of people don't remember he gave up an air base 400 miles from China completely for no reason. I mean, no one can come up with a reason why. I believe it's connected to the 20 to 30 million he got from China. But in any event, that air base someday could be of critical importance to us not having it. I can't think of anything where we haven't gotten weaker. Our economy has gotten weaker, even though there are some things, since it's such a strong economy, that are good about it. The main thing, the price of food is 60, 70% higher than when Trump was in office. The invasion of the United States is something I don't know if Europeans can really feel, but we've had somewhere around 15 million people come in. Most of them, we don't know who they are. I literally don't know who they are. We never interviewed them, never saw them. They just came in those big intervals between border crossings, across a border that's 1,000+ miles long. And he gave up on the first day. He changed all of Trump's security measures for the border. And he told people, invited them in, basically said, surge to the border. So now we have an altogether new organized crime group in America we never had before, Tren de Aragua, which comes from Venezuela. Maduro, who is a communist dictator, has done what Castro did several generations ago. He's unloaded his prisons on the United States. He's taken his prisoners out of prison. He's taken his insane out of the insane. He brought them to the United States. So we have a illegal alien crime surge. All of this is on purpose. Biden doesn't know why he's doing it. Harris probably has a glimmer. Obama knows for sure. they're trying to make us into a one world country. They want to destroy. When I say they want to destroy America, I mean America as we know it. Right. America as a constitutional republic with rights like free speech, fair trial for everyone, including Republicans who don't get a fair trial. A living standard that we have gotten used to, which is sort of based on a capitalist economy with a fail-safe for poor people. We've reversed it now. We're a country of a fail-safe with a tiny capitalist economy. And we're getting ruined. Trump will reverse all that because just 4 years ago, let's say right before the pandemic, it was our strongest economy in 50 years. I would almost compare. I'd almost compare Trump, not even so much to Ronald Reagan, who's my hero. I work for him. I compare him, believe it or not, to John Kennedy, in the sense that John Kennedy, remember, was very anti-communist. He believed in it. He was a social moderate. Today, to be a social liberal is to want to have a completely dependent economy. He was a social moderate, but he was a hawk in terms of the enemies of the United States. I mean, we almost went to nuclear war with Russia. He backed them down. Now, we back down before there's even a threat. We basically invited Ukraine. Putin has invaded 3 times in the last 15 years or so. Once under Bush, a bad one under Obama, and a really bad one under Biden. Notice who's missing.
Right.
In the middle of all that, Trump, Putin didn't go anywhere under Trump.
Right.
Xi Jinping did not threaten Taiwan under Trump. The fat guy in North Korea used to walk around like he was his stepson, and did what he wanted. The main reason is, and here's where he's similar to Reagan, they fear him.
Right.
The craziness of the left saying that he's insane and he's this and he's that. These people buy a little of that, and they say, maybe out of ego, he'll bomb us. I'm not going to take a chance. Putin is a very careful guy. He's evil. He's monstrous. You can say anything you want about it. He's a killer. I've met him, evaluated him immediately as a stone cold killer. Smart as hell. And believe it or not, very careful. He didn't go into Afghanistan until he tested Biden for about a month and a half about whether Biden would use troops. And Biden must have said no boots on the ground 30 times. After the 30th time, and watching his cowardly behavior in Afghanistan and getting Americans killed there, and Afghanis who helped America, they're being killed there, turning over about $80 billion worth of weapons to the Taliban. He said to himself, this guy is a patsy. This will be easier than Obama or Bush. So let me just go in there and he'll make nice with Ukraine. He won't give him enough to win. And I think he probably thought he would do better than he did. But he got what he wanted. He got his pathway, his road to Crimea. That's really what he wanted. That was his basic goal. And now they're fighting a war for no reason. They're not going to win. Biden won't allow them to win. He won't allow them to use the sophisticated weapons we've given them, and some we're holding back, to bomb Russia. It's the only way to win. It could also start a nuclear war. Right? Yeah. So maybe he's right for the wrong reason. But then you don't lock them into an end. What do you do? You're locking them into an endless war. And as an expert on Ukraine, which I am, from having not only investigated it as Trump's lawyer and shown that what they said was going on in Russia was going on in Ukraine, the collusion in Ukraine and the corruption in Ukraine. Ukraine is a thoroughly corrupt government, not people, government. Zelensky's part of that corruption. Zelensky was made by the biggest money launderer in Ukraine. Kolomoisky ran Privat Bank. Privat Bank was a bigger money launderer than anything they have in Russia. Even Russians would use him. He was so good. He has all the offshore bank accounts of everybody you'd want to put in prison, including the Bidens. He made Zelensky a multimillionaire. Zelensky's done nothing about the oligarch corruption in Ukraine, nothing. And we're sending all this money to him, and you are too in Europe. You have any idea what he's doing with it? I mean, there's no way in the world I'd send him a penny without the best accounting firm in the world giving me an accounting of it. And guys who have been SEALs. I have no doubt they're stealing some of the money. I don't say all. Believe it or not, a lot of the crooked organized crime oligarchs I dealt with in Ukraine were patriotic.
How do you get out of a rat race? How do you create wealth not only for yourself, your family, but also for the generations to come after? And the best way to do that is through early stage investments. You layer in emerging technologies like we are in today, whether that be Web3, whether that be blockchain, whether that be metaverse or AI, the gains can be exponential. The community that we have built through the investment club is worth its weight in entry point alone. Which companies will be the next Facebooks, Googles, and Amazons of this industry? We get to be a part of, set the direction, aid, support, and create a much bigger impact worldwide through our investments. I hope to see you in this investment club. It's going to change your life. It's going to change your family's life. And it's going to change the generations to come. See you in the investment club.
On the one hand, they go fight for the country. On the other hand, they take half the money, figuring they were entitled to it. And so I see in Ukraine an endless war, which sometimes we do for the purpose of the crooked politicians making money. Essentially what Arafat did with Clinton. And then when Clinton gave him everything, he said, no, I want the war to continue. Because Mrs. Arafat wouldn't be sitting in the south of France, one of the richest women in the world, if that weren't the case. So we got to change this administration. We know what we're going to get with Trump. I mean, we're going to get some tweets we don't like. We're going to have prosperity. We're going to have a country that people are afraid of and fear in the right way. We're going to have a country whose allies can counter us, whereas we're double-crossing Israel left and right. And they're one of our best friends, like the UK is. There's no doubt we double-cross any of you with the Biden administration in favor of a Klaus Schwab one world government. So this is the most important election we've ever had because it determines whether we turn over to our children the America that was turned over to us. Right now, we turn over an America that can truly be described as a socialist country.
Yeah, very much so. And the next 30 days, in your opinion, Rudy, what does Trump have to do? Is it all about Pennsylvania and I think those 19 electoral votes? The second question I would say is then what do they have to do there? And then the third question I have is, I think that's notoriously one of the most corrupt places, at least Philly is, and you know this in detail. So then post the 5th of November or pre, how do you stop the steal there? So those are three questions because I've heard if Trump wins Pennsylvania, he has the whole thing. He said that recently. It's probably not that simple. And Rudy, one of the things that I tell everybody, you really opened my mind with our conversation here in London because I never heard anyone speak in such detail about the electoral tampering that went on in 20 because the mainstream media just dismisses it so quickly.
Yeah.
You are the most well-versed person I've ever met on this. So when I ask, I feel like I'm asking the right guy.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is whether they want to dismiss it or not, we can't as Republicans, Trump supporters. If we dismiss it, we're going to give away the election. Yeah. And you're absolutely right. You pick the most corrupt. If we have 4 or 5 centers of election corruption, Philadelphia is the capital. And remember, when they cheated in the last election, they didn't cheat everywhere. Democrats are very smart. They don't win elections because they're dumb. Even cheating requires a great deal of cunning. They pick corrupt cities they own. If you think New York City, not the United States, is a democracy, it hasn't been a democracy in 150 years. It's a democratic dictatorship. Chicago has had 60 years of a Democratic mayor, no change, and they kill enough people to roughly be Vietnam every weekend. And the people don't change it. I mean, over the 4th of July weekend, 10 people or 20 shot dead and 100 wounded. And yet they elect a Democrat mayor. When you have one party rule for 30, 40, 50, or in the case of New York City, I was only the third Republican in 100 years. So they control the courts. They appoint the judges. The judges rule for the Democrats. So now they know they can cheat like hell. And no judge. People say, well, why didn't Trump win any cases? Because the Democrats own the court. That's why. So we had to go to the state legislatures. But in any event, there are two states I would say that are critical. I would add one to Pennsylvania. That would be Michigan. There were two ways he could get there. If, God forbid, he were to lose Pennsylvania, if he won Michigan and held on to the states that he's ahead in, he'd barely make it.
Okay.
He takes both of them, he wins solidly. In both, he is, I would say, everyone would say he's tied. When you tell me Trump is tied, he's ahead. Trump outperforms the polls in the last two elections, even the one that he won, one that he lost, by somewhere between 2 and 3%. Now, I can't be sure it'll happen again, but I think it will because of the way they demonize him. Believe it or not, people are embarrassed to say they're voting for him. So people will lie in favor of not saying they're going to vote for him or saying they're going to vote for Biden. I knew people like that who wouldn't tell their wives who they were voting for because they do an effective job of demonizing. I mean, they've made him, for certain people who don't really follow things carefully, they're literally afraid of him. And in many ways, he's the nicest guy in the world. It's ridiculous when you know him, like his friends get so angry about this because he's helped all of us. Help me on a personal basis at times. I've helped him on a personal basis. He's one of the guys that if he were your friend, he's really your friend. When I had COVID, called me every day. How about before that, the first year he was president, I broke my knee. I was laid up for 4 weeks. I've got a call every day.
Wow.
He said, I need your advice. It would make it up sometimes that he needed my advice, make me feel I'm still part of it. He knows how active I am. And of course, I did have it. I was watching television all the time, so I could tell him things other people couldn't. But he's that kind of guy. He doesn't just do it for me. I can find you scores of people that he takes care of. I just went to a rally with him in Long Island. I broadcast it on my show. And I didn't even know this. They throw me out of a room. They said, the president needs the room. And I was thinking of pulling rank and saying, well, the president let me stay in the room. And I left. He had a little boy in the room who had brain cancer. And he gave the little boy a gift. He told him a story. He held up the whole event because somebody had written him a letter.
Wow.
And, a lot of people think he does this. He used to do this when I was mayor and not tell anybody. So this is a really good man. It's the reason I work for him so hard, because I feel he's been so unfairly treated. There's certainly no doubt no president in history has been persecuted the way he has. And when you look at when he was shot and almost killed, and you saw him come up, fight, that's the man. You cannot put him down. You say to yourself, at a time like this, when we're in crisis, he handed over to Biden and Harris a world at peace. He's getting back a world at war. No one better than Trump to handle that. Sometimes God picks the right person for the right time. He's the right person right now. He understands the corruption in our government. Therefore, he'll be able to fix it. A lot of very good people wouldn't understand it. They get fooled by it. They'd be very good people, but they wouldn't understand it. And a lot of people don't know how to handle war. He does. So you put those two things together, I think you can get things straightened out faster than you think. And for Europe, look, we're partners. We may not sometimes argue. We may sometimes have disagreements, but we're stuck together. We're Western civilization. I know a lot of us in America reject Western civilization. A lot of people in Europe reject Western civilization. But why the heck do we all go to Europe? Why do Americans go to Europe? To see the Parliament, to see the Eiffel Tower, to see Notre Dame when it's rebuilt. We can't lose that. We share that in common. We love that. And we are being faced with a movement, which I think comes out of communism, to destroy Western civilization. And he's one of the few I guess President Maloney would be another one. He's one of the few that really values Western civilization. And he'll preserve it, and I think you'll see in Europe a real movement back toward preserving who we are. There's no reason we shouldn't be who we don't have to become somebody else. They'd be better off becoming a little more like us.
And how would you say each candidate is doing right now? Obviously, on Sunday, we saw an incredible rally with Elon Musk and Trump revisiting the site of the first assassination attempt. That in itself was a powerful statement, regardless of what people said, coming from their lips, just the fact that he did that. And I believe that when you put Trump and Elon together, arguably the two most famous people in the world, then you get a sum that's greater than the parts. And there's the website called Polymarket that we look at in crypto because you can go and bet on that. And literally after that rally was done, we saw what's been a tiny Kamala lead for the past month split out into what now Trump has held about a 6 or 7 percentage point lead there, including a 9-point lead in Pennsylvania. And that came off the back of that rally. And I'm just curious, do you think that momentum is there for Trump? Also, I'm hearing that the honeymoon period is getting slightly over with Harris. She's obviously out there doing a bunch of media, from the 60 Minutes to the Caller Daddy to this and that. And I think with kind of mixed results. And obviously they handled the hurricane pretty poorly. How would you say each candidate is doing, and what do you think they're going to specifically do the next 4 weeks? Will it be more the same for Trump with the rallies? Will it be more the same with Harris with carefully selected media?
Well, Harris, I believe, the more you see her, the less you vote for her. My fear really is that they nominated her late and it would be a short campaign. But the tide turned about 2 weeks ago with one of her, I've forgotten which one of her disastrous interviews, but where she kept repeating the same answer to no matter what she was asked. How are you going to fix the economy? What are you going to do about Israel? What are you going to do about Ukraine? Well, I come from the middle class, and my mother taught me. I mean, it's obviously and then when you listen to her answer, it's precisely the same the next time and the next time, the next time, with no specifics. I think that's wearing very, very thin. Her personality is wearing thin too. She's simply not a nice person. She lost 90% of her staff. Before she was Kamala, the hero, she was Kamala the villain. The Biden people hate her. All you'd get out of the White House is she's the most disliked president. She had the worst approval rating of any vice president in history. Nobody had worked for her. It takes a little while for that to come through, particularly with a media that's fawning and that pathologically hates Trump. Yes, you're right. She is falling as much as he's gaining. He doesn't wear on you. I mean, he's been around a long time and he doesn't wear on us. And he always had what I tell him it's a secret weapon that he didn't have last time because of COVID, the rally.
Yeah.
No American presidential candidate. I followed all of them, and one of them is the biggest hero of my lifetime, Ronald Reagan. Nobody can do a rally like that. Now, what does that rally do? On television, it has some impact. But for the people there, they all go out and they spend the next 20 days getting voters. I mean, they get really worked up. Since we're so evenly split in America, particularly in what we call the swing states, enthusiasm wins for you. If you see small rallies for her and big rallies for him, he's going to win. Now, you didn't see that in 2020 because we couldn't have rallies.
Right.
But even when you saw it, it wasn't big. So if he can do these rallies, right? I remember in 2016, on the last day of the election, we did 6 rallies. We ended on election day. It was after midnight in Michigan. And we had to make a choice between Michigan and Minnesota. And we picked Michigan, and we won. And we lost Minnesota. The rallies, and he went to Pennsylvania that day, and we won Pennsylvania, the first Republican to win it in forever.
Wow.
Now, remember, in the last election, I thought on election night he had a landslide in Pennsylvania. He was ahead by 800,000 votes. Now, I know the left said, oh, they didn't cheat. But I have mathematicians that tell me it's mathematically impossible for them to have won that election, given the election day vote. 800,000 is a landslide victory in a state like Pennsylvania. So on election day, he had almost 65% of the vote. They won on paper ballots, which is always very, very questionable. This time, there'll be far fewer paper ballots. Many of the states have elected safeguards, and we have deployed a lot more inspectors. We're already in court in Philadelphia. We're already in court in Atlanta. Last time I had to come in and catch up. They had nothing prepared. So we're trying everything we can to make sure we get a fair count. If we get a fair count, I believe we win.
Okay. I guess that was my final question is, how do you feel about ensuring the fairness of those key ones, like you said, Atlanta, Philly, maybe Maricopa, those kinds of things? Do you feel like we're much better prepared than in 20?
Oh, much better prepared.
Okay.
Much better. It reminds me of my two elections when I first became mayor. In '89, I lost by about 30,000, 40,000 votes, and I did feel that I was cheated. In '93, I had a $1 million election integrity effort, and I asked my people, did we get all the cheating? They said no, but we got enough for you to win. There'll be some cheating. We can't stop it all. But as Trump says, if we have a big enough margin, we'll win. And I think we'll win even if we have a small margin, because remember, it's only 4 or 5 states where the cheating takes place. I don't want people to think that cheating takes place all over America. Even Democrats in other states a lot of Democrats are extraordinarily honest people. But the corruption in the Democrat Party is limited to some of our big cities. And there it's very, very bad. So there we have to have teams of people, which we have. And we have to be on top of it. We got to go to court early. We're doing all of that. And his margins are getting greater and greater. So the bigger his margin becomes, then it becomes impossible to cheat.
Do you expect any kind of black swan events in the next 4 weeks? And what could those things be? Obviously, it feels like Trump's going to keep doing what he does. And I agree with you. The more you see Trump, kind of the better he gets. Kamala looks like she's now committed to be doing regular media. But do you expect anything strange happening? Obviously, since we last spoke, there was the second assassination attempt, which is almost hard to believe. Are you worried about a third? What do you think is going to happen or could happen in those next 4 weeks?
I hate to say that because I don't want to be a prophet of some kind. I am very worried. I tell him that every time I talk to him. I'm very worried about him personally as a friend. And then I'm worried about him as the person who can save my country. I agree with you. I don't think you're allowed to believe in coincidences when you're in law enforcement. I never believed in coincidences. Coincidences have to be investigated. So I don't know, but I begin with using a hypothesis that these were planned events. And I see nothing that changes my mind about that. In fact, I see nothing. Instead, I look at a first attempt in Pennsylvania where everything was done wrong. If you wanted to look like you were trying to get him killed, well, you look like that. It could be all accidental, but they didn't cover the most obvious point they should have covered. I did presidential security for Clinton and Bush as mayor of New York when they came to New York. New York City Police Department takes over. And I also arrested Hinckley in the assassination attempted assassination of President Reagan. So I know this as a professional. If I were there with him, first thing I would have noticed is that first thing I do whenever I'm with him is I look up. And if I saw a building like that, I would have gone crazy on the Secret Service, which I've done. The fact that they also had a suspect for an hour and a half, never told them, and let him go out there with a guy that they had suspicions of they were trying to find, is outrageous. Now, is that because they were incompetent and Biden was giving him half of what he needed? And some of these people it said weren't even from Secret Service. It could be. I mean, you could see the people that were guarding him were like 4'2". He's supposed to have people taller than him. The idea is like when he came up and you saw the face, you shouldn't have seen it. You should have seen Secret Service agents surrounding him. That's how we protect the president. That's why we say the Secret Service will take a bullet for the president. Secret Service is down here, and I'm here. The president's going to take the bullet. So a lot of it troubles me, and I do worry. I mean, they've done everything else. They've done everything else. They've shown a level of morality that wouldn't exclude. They're so desperate. So I don't know what they're going to do. I know they're going to try something. It may not be that. It may be some world event or some who knows what. They've shown that in the first election they did Russian collusion. It turns out to be a complete fraud paid for by Hillary Clinton. The second election, they covered up the hard drive and they got our intelligence people to lie and say it was Russian disinformation. Turned out to be absolutely true. And now 20% of the American people say they would have voted the other way if they knew about it. So I don't know. When you have the same group of people, and they did it twice before, and this time there have been 2 attempts on his life. So we have to just worry about everything and just be over-prepared. There are some scenarios that we have in mind. I'm not going to share them with you. But sometimes they think of something you didn't think of. So let's hope we've thought of everything and we get to Election Day peacefully. If we do, I do believe a safe prediction is that he'll win.
Okay.
By a decent margin.
Tell me your thoughts on the Jewish vote in America and then also Israel. We saw October 7th, I think Trump went down to Florida, for a memorial service. And I think later he went back to New York City, I think to celebrate a Jewish holiday there. And obviously this is a really important thing for him. He obviously, moved the embassy to Jerusalem and the Abraham Accords. I mean, his track record is second to none. At the same time, I think people are a bit frustrated with Harris and maybe her lack of clarity on what's going on there. You're good friends with Benjamin Netanyahu, I believe.
Yes.
What do you make of that and the situation in Israel? And then maybe finally, could that affect the election?
Well, the situation in America troubles me a lot. I've never seen this level of anti-Semitism, and I didn't believe it existed. I mean, if you asked me before this broke out, I would have said, sure, there's anti-Semitism, like there's some degree of racism and some degree of every but it's, within unbelievably good historic bounds. And in New York, I would have said, of course there's no racism. It's a Jewish city. I always used to tease the mayor of Jerusalem. The mayor of Jerusalem, I had a bigger Jewish city than he did. And Ehud Omer. And first time he came to meet me, there were a whole group of Hasidic Jewish people waiting to see me in my office. He said, "You have more black hats than I do." So we have always been comfortably a Jewish city. We're also an Irish city and an Italian city, but to a large extent, the Jewish people put a real mark on New York and helped it a lot. To see anti-Semitism, to see on October 7 of this year, more people protesting in favor of a maniacal terrorist group that wants to eliminate the Jewish people and kill Americans. To see people from our best universities on the streets looking like idiots was very disappointing. And there were demonstrations, thank God, in New York for Israel. And Trump came to the tomb of Rabbi Schneerson, who is revered beyond the Orthodox community by all in the Jewish community. It was a wonderful thing. I mean, it showed, I'm going to be with you. And he has been with them throughout. It's not just a political thing. And then down in Florida, the same thing, where you have the second biggest Jewish community in Miami. So we went to what we would, let's call it the Jewish capitals of America, to show I'm with you. They didn't do that.
Since I joined London Real, I've already invested in 7 deals And I'm incredibly excited because that will change my life. That will change the life of my family. That is building generational wealth. And honestly, the first time I was in the Zoom meeting, I was like pinching myself, like this can't be real. If I was not part of the London Real Investment Club, there is no way to participate in the beginning of those companies.
We're investing in the companies that are running the ecosystem. I'm in the room listening to these guys that are making things happen. These are change makers. These guys are visionaries.
If any of you that are sitting on the fence wondering if this investment is worth it, I promise you, the knowledge and the insight you will receive, that alone will change your life.
All of us are worthy and deserving of the wealth. We have the same rights as anybody else on this planet.
Biden lit a candle in the White House. Meanwhile, he hasn't talked to Bibi in 2.5 months. I mean, that's crazy. That's our biggest ally, along with you, along with the UK. You don't talk to them. They're at war. They're fighting for their survival. And he's talking about, you got to do it carefully. My children are being threatened with imminent death, and you call me up, you're my friend, say, well, be careful the way you eliminate the people who want to kill your children. Just be careful. You make sure you do it the right way. What the hell are you talking about? I got to save my people. And when they talk about civilian deaths, it's ridiculous. I mean, there are much more civilian deaths that everybody else causes than the Israelis. They're the only army in the world that I think worries about civilian deaths. In the Second World War, when England and the US were bombing Germany, were Churchill and Roosevelt worried about civilian deaths? Was there a civilian death count in Frankfurt? No, they had bombed the hell out of England, killed civilians, and you went ahead and bombed the hell out of them. Now, should you have a civilian? I don't know, but you got to be fair and say Israel has the best record, better than we had in Vietnam, better than we had in Afghanistan. And now we're doing this, oh, you're killing too many civilians. Well, I mean, they put civilians out there to be killed. If you don't kill the civilian, you're not going to kill the people who are killing you, unfortunately and tragically. So I think, in the last couple of weeks, if not month or two, the whole thing in Israel has turned around and Bibi's become a great hero again. I think that brilliant attack, 2-day attack, in which they exploded the cell phones and the radios. They even got the Ayatollah to go into hiding. He got scared. I guess he's worried about how many virgins he's going to get. Is he ever going to get there?
Yeah, it's amazing how Bibi has turned things around in a matter of a week or two. Those mobile phone, those pagers and then the walkie-talkies, and all of a sudden they're making an offensive move into Hezbollah in southern Lebanon. And now everybody is like, eyes are wide open. Iran's in a tough situation and nobody is looking as tough or as big as they were, by a factor of 2. I think they've even said they've taken out 50% of Hezbollah's weapons. I don't know if that's true, but the reaction from the world was like, oh my gosh, wow. And I personally thought to myself that in Saudi Arabia, they're tipping a glass, because they don't want Iran to be powerful at the end of the day. They ultimately want peace. They want trade. They're trying to build that economy there, and they must be secretly rooting for this, because Iran really hasn't had one stuck to them in a while, and this shocked everybody.
Yeah, it did shock everyone, and it really does point out that the core of this is the reign of terror in Iran. You're not going to have all this stuff about two-state solution. You can't have a two-state solution with a state that wants to eliminate you on your border. No one's going to agree. And as an American, I wouldn't agree to a two-state solution. They want to kill me. Right after they say death to Israel, they say death to America. That's me, my family, my friends. I'm going to create a state for them? I've always thought that was a self-defeating proposition. The answer is to regime change in Iran. That regime has to go. You get rid of that regime and you have peace in the Middle East in 5 years.
To continue watching the rest of the episode for free, visit our website londonreal.tv or click the link in the description below.